play an instrument, acoustic guitar, drums, you know, these condenser microphones are going to sound amazing with those as well. So you may learn beyond just for vocal recording if you do other stuff, you want to record other things. So what I'm showing you is, when I look this up, it gives me some very cheap options. I would not really spend less than $200 on a condenser microphone. Maybe if it's like used and in decent condition, like Craigslist, you might want to spend less. But condenser microphones are very sophisticated. So if you're spending $100, you're probably gonna hear it. It's gonna sound like it's worth $100 and not be so great. Companies that I really love, like right now I'm using AKG studio mic, you know. So yeah, this is sponsored, but when you really get into them, you see the AKG Perception 220, that's 150. That's pretty good, even though it's under $200. I would still go with the C214. I have the 414. 414 is probably in here somewhere. It is a classic, famous microphone. There's Rode microphones. I love the company Rode. They make awesome stuff. This NT1A, and this is not even how much it costs because there's like all this extra stuff. But the NT Rode Studio mic is one of the best beginner models for sounding pretty awesome. Yeah, they have like a new version now. This is the USB version. Audio Technica, that's a good company. And essentially what I'm trying to tell you is make sure you're getting a reputable microphone, and make sure you're getting a condenser microphone. Some people might use other types. There's ribbon microphones, there's tube microphones that actually you have to plug into like an amp, like a little tube amp box, and that can have a specific sound too. I don't want to get too much into those. You could find a reason to use a ribbon or a tube mic for vocals. They can sound really awesome, but they're also kind of more rare type of microphone that you don't need to have. Next, polar patterns. Boom, I'm in here. So if you get a nicer microphone, even some cheap microphones these days, you could switch how the sound is picked up. Generally, you're going to want cardioid or super cardioid, where the bigger circle is, taking up 1/2 of the screen, you know, of this circle. That's where your head is going to be, essentially. And you notice it's not picking up very much behind it. It's picking up mostly sides, and especially in the front. Super cardioid is even more specific to the front, but with a little bit of rear. Figure 8 is awesome if you have, say, 2 singers and you want them to stand on each side, or you have a singer on one side and a guitarist on the other, like a acoustic guitarist. That is going to pick up 2 sources at once, which is really awesome. If you have a microphone, my microphone has a little switch on it, and it has little symbols. That one is a circle, and that is omni. Full circle, that's capturing everything. That's great if you want to go into the middle of a crowd and just capture the whole feel, or it's good for a room. You want to get the room sound. It picks up everything. And let's see, I am going to, these other ones, like different versions of cardioid, they're not really that important. What's really important is omni, different versions of cardioid, figure 8. Shotgun is the kind of mics you're going to see on film sets when they're trying to really, really focus in on just dialogue from as far away as possible. But that is not of concern today. Maybe we'll do a film sound workshop in the future. So headphones. I've got headphones on right now. Let me go back to OBS here, to me. Hey guys. Oh, look at that. Oops, I'm moving my screen around. I wanted to move the producer's edge. I didn't really mean to have that there, but that is what I'm about, producer's edge. So now I'm trying to move this background. I'm a perfectionist. So basically, these headphones, right? These Audio Technica, you're not gonna be able to read it perfectly because it's mirrored, but this is one of the professional but more affordable companies. AKG makes amazing headphones. Sennheiser makes awesome headphones. Sony makes awesome headphones. You're gonna also be looking for studio headphones. I have headphones on right now because essentially my speakers from my computer don't need to be on when you have your headphones in, and that means the sound is not going to get picked up by my microphone. So you really need headphones if you're going to be recording vocals. I don't need them for Zoom and for the streaming, but I have them on anyway, and they do help with the sound even in that situation. But it's really important. Just like if you're recording your vocals and the music is coming out of speakers, it's gonna record that too, and it's gonna sound not so great later on. So headphones are really important, and you could set them up so you're monitoring yourself, you're hearing what you're saying. I'm not monitoring myself, so I have one ear kind of out. Some singers like to even if you can hear themselves in the headphones, they like to have an ear uncovered so that they can hear themselves in the room, and some people like that feeling of actually hearing themselves because they're used to it. So that's totally fine to do. And next, setting up the mic. So now we have my microphone is here, and it's on a stand, as you can see. Maybe I could take my background off on Zoom. You'll see my beautiful, ugly room. Let me just do it real quick. So if I go to choose virtual background and turn it off. All right. So this right here is the microphone I've been using. It's set up a little funny because I was trying to get it. No, I hope you guys can hear me when it wasn't facing me. But once again, it's a condenser microphone, so it's picking me up for sure. This is set up for me sitting down. Now, I recommend that you set up your mic standing up. Usually when you're singing, and if you are a singer, even if you're a rapper or whatever, if you're vocalizing, when you stand, it's easier to have full posture, the full posture that you want. So I'm going to raising this up. This is my mic stand. This is an Hola mic stand. Hola, like the Spanish hello, with the exclamation point at the end. It's a little cheesy sounding, but they sell them pretty much everywhere. I like this brand. It works really well. It's pretty sturdy. But there's a million brands out there, and all of them will pretty much work. You're noticing I have the mic set up so it's aimed a little down at me. Actually, it's too low. I want, now this is also a little bit of singing. I'm gonna move back so you can see me better. There's a little bit of singing lesson here too. If your mic is here, for example, aimed up at you, whatever, and you're constricting your neck to look down at it, or some people, they don't memorize their lyrics and they're looking at their phone and they're looking down, you're constricting your neck, and you're actually, whether you're rapping, singing, whatever, spoken word, anything, your voice is not going to be in its fullest power. So that's why I always go a little higher than the mouth, so that the person singing or vocalizing has to look a little up, open up their throat, and then get your posture going, legs straight and rooted into the ground, and now's a good time to do some vocal warm-ups. Now's a good time to breathe into your diaphragm. All that stuff. If you don't know that stuff, just go on YouTube, look up vocal warm-ups. You might be a rapper and think it's like, oh, I don't need to do that. Oh my God, it transforms your life. If you haven't actually like practiced the sort of basics of singing and do the warm-ups, then you don't realize how much that stuff is like so important for you to like project and have power and not run out of breath. If you find yourself running out of breath and you're taking these big breaths, and then after you're recording you're like exhausted, that's probably because you're not using, you know, breathing technique. So I have this mic set up. You know, you want to make sure everything, there's like all these different points that need to be tightened. You want to make sure it's not like flopping around. So this right here, now that I showed you that, this is the what's it called? The shock mount. I always want to say pop filter, but it's not. This is the shock mount, which is kind of stopping the microphone from vibrating too much while, you know, say you like project loudly, it's going to pick up and maybe even shake the microphone. So this helps stop the shake. I am going to get a pop filter. I just mentioned that. Let me grab one from over here real quick. One moment. All right, this is a pop filter. So when you go p, b, t, k, anything that, if you put your hand in front of your mouth and you make, you know, t, p, k, any of those sounds that you feel the air shoot into your hand, that is not good, because the microphone's going to pick that up and it's going to sound like a pop sound. And it's very hard to get rid of for your audio engineer, or for you as an audio engineer. If you can prevent that at all, it's really helpful. So I'm actually attaching this, as you can see, to the mic stand. This one is a metal pop filter. I kind of like metal pop filters. You can also get the ones that are like the black silky fabric ones, and those definitely help. Sometimes I'll use both with someone who's especially poppy and not in the sense of pop music. I've actually set this up before where it was hanging from above. I need to move this over. So this is going to go right in front of your mic. You know, if you're like an inch away, that's cool. That's fine. Pop filter, mic, shock mount, mic stand, cable. The mic cable, actually, now that I have this here, I'm going to hang my mic cable here. There's no tension anymore, coming off the microphone. Sometimes if there's tension and the mic cable's pulling on the microphone, it could be like kind of messing with the connection. And say something bumps the mic stand, it could actually remove the connection for a moment and add pops and issues with your recording. So this is stopping there from being tension, and all the tension is touching this point. So here, my mic is set up. Obviously, I have some friends who are like 6 foot something. I gotta go way higher with the stand. Or if they're short, you gotta go way lower, and just be on top of making sure that for each artist they have the setup that works the best for them. Sometimes the mic that works the best for them. Sometimes you know, different mics pick up different qualities. So what works on you, say you're like, what works on an opera singer might not work on, you know, an MC. Those are very different vocals, so you could try out different microphones. So next is, yeah, that's good. Set up your DAW. So we're gonna go, I'm gonna move this back down because I'm sitting down again. and I'm going to move the pop filter because I don't really need the pop filter at this moment. I am going to be recording, and that is going to be a good time for me to put it back. But right now I'm going to open up Logic. So I'm using Logic. Logic Pro is a DAW, a digital audio workstation, which is like a one-stop shop for everything recording and music creation. So not only recording, but even, you're going to have your synths and your samplers, your beats, and everything can happen in there as well. So I'm opening up a new, you're not seeing this, but opening up a new project. And now I'm going to tell OBS to share this. Oh, I want to show you one more thing. This is already ready. So you should all see, here's AudioFuse. I have an AudioFuse interface. You might have a Focusrite interface. You might have a Universal Audio interface. You might have a M Audio interface. You might have, there's a million, and they're all pretty good. That's not totally true, but I mean, for getting started, I would probably start with the Focusrite Scarlett series. But as long as, once again, you're not getting the cheapest possible thing or some company that no one ever heard of, then you're probably going to sound okay. But they all, not all of them, but many of them will come with some kind of software that shows you what's coming in and out of your interface. So you see mic 1 is jumping. Also, 48 volt is red. 48V, that's actually power that's going to the mic to power it, because condenser microphones require 48 volt. And you have to turn that on, otherwise you're not going to hear. So I'm going to turn it off right now. Oops. I'm pressing it as if I'm actually in it, but I'm in OBS. I'm gonna turn it off right now, and you're probably hearing me again, and then you're not hearing me anymore, and then you're hearing me again. It takes a second to pop in. So without it, nothing. You're trying to record with a condenser microphone, you hear nothing. Your levels are up. It might be the 48 volt button, which should be on most mixers, most interfaces, and here I can control it from the software. Now I'm going to tell OBS, I have to add this real quick. I'm going to tell OBS to look at Logic. Like I said, Logic is a DAW just like Pro Tools, Cubase, Ableton Live, Sony Acid. There's so many. There's a million of them. A lot of interfaces come with them too. Okay, I'm window capture, and I'm putting in Logic, if it lets me. Here we go. Sweet. So y'all should see my Logic. OBS forces me to, I forgot to do this ahead of time for this guy. You have to shrink it down. So this is the very opening for Logic. If you have GarageBand, everything I'm about to show you is like almost the same. GarageBand looks and feels just like Logic, it just has a few less options. And GarageBand comes with every computer. Logic is pretty affordable at $200 as opposed to $400 to $1,000 for other major companies' offerings. But this is when you just first open. I don't know if you see this, but it's asking me, do I want to make a software instrument, an audio channel? Do I want to open drummer? No, making an audio channel. Now, I am coming in to, you see audio 1? I'm coming in to input 1, because you saw when I was showing you the software, you could see it was the very first channel. So when I go to input, you see 16 inputs. There are 8 inputs and 8 digital inputs on my interface, so it's showing me 16. If you have 2 inputs or 6 inputs or 9 inputs, it's going to show you that many So long as you go to Logic, well, whatever it is, you go to your preferences, usually something like audio. Look at that. Audio fuse. I'm going to switch it up. Buffer size. This is important. You want it low when you're recording and high when you're mixing. So 120, 1024 when you're mixing, but 128, 256 is best. Don't go too low because it puts a lot of pressure on your computer's memory. But yeah, buffer size low because there's going to be less problems with lag. For whatever reason, I don't know the math behind it, but your buffer size also says how late your voice, like you hear your voice coming back. So when people are listening themselves, monitoring themselves, and you would monitor yourself by pressing I wonder if it's going to do anything. Hey, okay, I hear myself. I don't know what you guys hear, but I can hear myself now because the I button, in Logic at least, and this is going to be, everything I'm teaching you can work in most DAWs, most recording things, but they might look just a little different or be in a slightly different place. But monitoring, maybe it'll be like the M button or it'll be like a picture. But this is how I can monitor and hear what's coming in. But I'm also hearing what's coming in here. So you want to choose just one of them. This is having me hear exactly what's going into the interface. This is, oh, you're not seeing that. I'm going to go to Audio Fuse software. This is what is having me hear exactly what's going into the interface. So it's going to be very clean sound. It's going to have less lag. And scene 2. This, you see the green here, that's showing me what's going, that I'm hearing what's actually going into this channel. So I could put effects on and hear myself with reverb. I can hear myself with comp, with whatever effects, basically. So that's kind of nice sometimes. Sometimes vocalists want clean. They want it as clean as possible because effects distract them. Sometimes you want the effects because you get into the feel of the song. You have like a really reverby effect. Or you sound like crazy because you're like got a chorus effect on you or something. It can get you into the feeling. So it's really up to you. I like to hear myself through the channel if I can. If there's lag problems, you might have to switch back. So I'm monitoring, and there's an R button for recording. Right now, if I go, press R to get it ready and record. Wa-da-da-da. Now I'm not like my focus is not singing. I love singing and I can sing, but I'm not trying to wow anybody with my singing skills right now. But I wonder if you guys can hear that. I don't even know. I didn't think about that. But basically here I am having been recorded, and it's right there. Now imagine if you had all your music. So you could, for example, if you are just a vocalist and someone sends you a beat, you download a beat from YouTube or something, you would just drag it in, right? So just as an example, I'm just gonna find any random thing, right? So let's say this is a saxophone from a song called Undercurrents. But let's just say like this was your hot beat that you're singing over, rapping over. This will go in the background, and you're set up your mic. I love to rename things, like Spencer Vox, right? So you know what it is, because sometimes I forget and I'll do like 20 things, and everything will be like very hard to tell what's what, because it's just say audio 1, audio 2. And just be numbered. So remember that. So Spencer Vox, right? Could be Vox main, Vox backup, could be anything. If this was a beat, none of that would get recorded over when you press record. Now maybe you made a whole beat. You have like all these instruments and all these drums and all this stuff like that. That might be what it looks like too. you do the same thing. Just go to track, new audio track, and set it up so that the input is wherever your microphone is. Sweet. So now, let's see. Oh yeah, mic technique, metronome. Okay, so here in the DAW, if you have someone or if you need assistance with tempo, and if you bring a beat in from YouTube, make sure that you absolutely find, you can find the tempo of it. There's actually something in Logic called metering and a BPM counter, and if there's like a strong beat in your song, it'll find what the BPM is. You can get a metronome app on your phone. You can find out tempo of something, and it's another workshop where I would teach you how to like move around and find out exactly where you are and get your tempo, sync it up. But it's something that if every hit is in the right place, on the 12 you get a hit, and then on 12.3 you get a hit, and on 13 you get a hit, then you're in tempo, if that makes any sense. But anyway, as a vocalist, it's really good to have your project in tempo, because if I ever want to add a delay effect to my voice, which sounds awesome, it's not going to sound right. It's going to be off if your track, if the music is off. So that's just really important if you bring a track in. If someone sends you a beat they made and it's just a WAV file or MP3, get it in tempo first. A lot of vocalists fight me about that because they just want to like start singing and they don't care, and they can hear it themselves and it's fine. But for engineers, we know that if it's in tempo, we could do a whole lot more with it. We could chop it up and move it around and change the composition. Oh, we want to move this and create another chorus and use the same one from before. When you're chopping and it's in tempo, you could just drag it over and it goes right into chorus 2, if that makes sense. So what I'm trying to say is tempo, staying in tempo is very important. So here we have, I'm getting texts and I want to make sure it's not like people who are watching me being like, oh no, nothing's working, but everything seems fine. So I'm going to look at my little everything I'm teaching today. Right, so if I'm recording, I'm gonna record again over this. Oh, you hear that nice saxophone. I'm gonna record again. Now it's doing a 4 count before it comes in. La da 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 da. There are 2 takes, and this is something that Logic does for automatically. It creates take folders, it creates a folder essentially. This is like a folder. If I did another one, I'm gonna turn off the 4 count. And now we have a take 3. So the cool thing is, and this might look different on different programs, but essentially every program should have something like this where you can comp. It's called comping your vocals, and that's finding the best take. But not only that, maybe I started out really good on take 3, but then I screwed up, but I really like how I ended it on take 2. See how I can, and maybe like this one word in take 1 sounded really good. Like I did that one the best, or had the most emotion in it, right? So often I'll have takes, there'll be like 16 takes, and sometimes I'll use like 6 of them if I'm getting really into it and creating. It's really obviously awesome when you get a perfect take, but it's not always going to happen, and sometimes you're going to want to match or combine multiple takes. So learn how to comp your vocals if you can. It's going to make your recordings sound way better. And also, especially if you only get, say you have a vocalist come in and then you can't get them to come back and fix something, you could use this as a way to forge something together that works. And that's awesome. Let's see. So the punching in part is, if I had a recording, I'm going to turn on this 1, 2, 3, 4 count. If I hold this down, you could say how long you want it to be. This is going to be an 8 count at 2 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Start. I'm going to keep it on 1. You know, you can do all kinds of stuff. But if I go, I'm going to close this. Okay. Yeah. Right? It only started recording right where I told it to. And if you want to hear like what you sang before, you might need to maybe. Yeah. You can't have 2 things like that. You might want to, when you're punching in, you might want this to end like where you want to begin. That happens to me sometimes, where I'll start recording to punch in and it won't like play me what I recorded before, so I can't hear myself. That may be something where you're going to want to record on this instead. Oh, look. I can't even hear myself. Oh, hello. You're going to record here instead. Like, this is maybe the start of a new line, right where this ends. So I just dragged it back. That may not be the case on whatever software you're using. But yeah, that is a whole nother thing. The metronome takes and sync music to tempo. I'm looking at my little lesson plan, making sure I'm hitting everything. The other thing, mic technique, and then I'm going to talk about streaming for 5 minutes, and then I think that'll be it. But hopefully this has been recorded on Facebook if you want to go back and check out some stuff, or re-check out some stuff, or if you came in late and see what you missed. So right now, sorry, I'm going to OBS. Boom. I'm going to go back to myself. Hello. You see my microphone? Something I forgot to mention is mic technique. So when you're singing into your mic, there's certain ways you could be that will be the most successful. So let's pretend I'm standing. I'm not gonna like reset up everything. Oh, a whole other thing is I forgot to mention like a reflection filter, or sometimes you'll see foam that's like around the mic. I actually don't have my foam with me right now. It's like at my friend's house. I usually have, I actually have a little one. Let me show you my little one. Where did I put it? One sec. I have a couple things I wanted to show you guys. I'm over here. Here it is. I have a little desktop one. I actually might be able to figure out how to like set it up. But this is what I'm talking about. You'll see what like sort of egg crate foam thing. This one is like a little desktop version. So I had it set up where I had my mic on my desk, and I had this standing right behind it. It has its own little stand. It's not the best, like, it's not made for standing and singing, but it works. And all it does is just, it removes some of the room sound, so you get a cleaner vocal. Now this, and the only reason I'm not using this is because this mic is 30 years old and the shock mount is a little weak, so it doesn't totally work. But this, and I had to like adapt it a little bit, chopped out some foam. This is like there's the eyeball chaotica, and this, I'm like forgetting the name of this, but basically you get, you can get foam things, like the mic would go here. I would like literally like put it on top, and you see the mic right there. Hello. And it gets rid of that room sound. It's another way to get rid of the room sound. These things sound surprisingly good, but they're not perfect. They're still gonna, color your vocal a little bit. They're not as good as being in a booth or a room or a closet where you have foam all around you. That's going to be the best option if you can create something like that. Or just get like a reflection filter. These things might even be $100, but they're pretty cool. And mic technique. So when you are singing, say this is here, the closer you are, the more bass you get. You get lots of bass, and I'm talking low so I don't hurt you, but you get a more intimate and deeper sound. So sometimes if you see a podcaster, they're right up in there, and that's how they get that radio voice. You know what I'm saying? And they talk kind of sensually and deep. But basically, see, now you don't get all that bass. So it's really good idea to come in close to the mic, but have this in your way. Don't like push your pop filter or your lips into the mic itself. You still want to be, general rule is about a fist away. So here, I'm still pretty close. And then this helps you stay away a little bit. But if you're up in there, you are getting the best sound, which you could probably even hear the difference right now. So the other thing is, if you're recording and you're going from the verse to the chorus or something, right? At the chorus, you're like yelling. Say you're rapping like da 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 da, and the chorus you're like da 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 da. You know, you start singing or something, or you have a part of the verse where it gets more intense. That is going to be something where either you record each part separately, but you're going to give yourself less a headache, or your audio engineer less of a headache if when you get to the loud point, you go back a little bit. So it's like da 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 da. That's kind of like, sounds like a metal song, but basically that is the same thing when you're doing live performance. If you have a lot of, it's called dynamics in your performance, then you're going to come into the problem of the engineer, the mix guy, whoever's doing that, has the level set up perfectly for the beginning of your recording, and then all of a sudden you're yelling, and it's screwing up the recording, or it's screwing up the sound. It's doing what it's called peaking, when it's going into the red, and that's going to add distortion and just mess up the vocal somewhat. I mean, if you're doing like a hardcore metal punk song, maybe distortion sounds cool on it, so it's not always bad, but it's definitely not great for rap and R&B and soul and jazz kind of singing in general. So I just wanted to mention that. And last but not least, for streaming, right now, I talk about this all the time. Make sure your router is as close to your computer as possible, because internet is a big deal for streaming. And that's what I had to do. I had to move mine. I'm about to set it up where I'm actually putting a cable, even though it's down the hall, to my router, so I can plug my computer in directly. So internet, part one, to have the best possible connection. Part two of streaming is, right now I'm on OBS. OBS is free. OBS lets you move between different scenes and different things, like you're in a TV studio, and it's easier to use than it looks when you first open it up. It looks a little crazy. But I'm also using Zoom, and you could just perform straight from Zoom. You could just perform straight from Facebook, IG, Twitch, or any of those services. It's kind of nice to do like OBS or Zoom first, because you have a little more control. As you saw in Zoom, I had this cool background. I'm going to throw that back in again. So something like Zoom lets you have a virtual background, even if you don't have a green screen. It's still going to like make it happen, right? There's actually a button where it can take away like the bumps from your face, and make you look prettier. If you were to go into video settings, what is it called? Touch up my appearance. So my appearance is touched up. You don't see all the wrinkles, because I'm older than I look. And that's why it's nice to kind of go from Zoom. You have to spend a little more money. The $15 Zoom thing, you get over 40 minutes. And you can stream straight to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or anything. Um, and yeah, so just knowing that those options are there for you. You could even use like Snap Camera and do all and put some kind of filter on you. That usually works with all the live software. So that's just like a great way to look good. And turn on a lamp behind the computer or behind the camera. You see the difference? Right now I'm like very like cave person, and now this lights me up. My face is warm. I'm using a warm light. And everything I taught you about microphone stuff, now you could have a USB microphone, and then now it's 601, so I'm sorry if I went over. But basically, you could use a microphone, a USB microphone, if you're just if you're just live streaming. You don't need to have the interface and the condenser. You don't have to have the full on setup of recording, because it's gonna lower the quality somewhat of your recording anyway when it's going through the internet. So I use this is like no longer in production, but this is a USB microphone. It plugs right into, it doesn't have an XLR cable like before. It's hard to see, but there you go. But you see it has a USB cable, and it's a condenser microphone. And I really recommend the Rode NT, which we looked at before, but Audio Technica makes an awesome one. You've probably seen like the different ones from Blue microphones. Using a condenser USB microphone is perfectly fine and good quality for streaming purposes, or even just for meetings and whatnot. If you're on Zoom, if you're on any of those sort of conferences, you're gonna sound great. So there you go, guys. That's my how to sound your best. I wonder if anyone has questions, but I really do not. I'm just seeing if anyone texted me, any of my buddies, hey. But it looks to me like I don't really have access to any people's questions. But you can go. I hope that this has been recorded so that I can go and put it up somewhere if it's not already. Here we go. Workshop Wednesday on Launch Global. Woohoo! I'm on YouTube, so Launch Global YouTube. Check them out, because this is gonna save after I'm done. If you want to go over any of the pieces of what I said before, someone liked me, but I do not think that there's any questions. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Follow Launch Global. Launchglobal.co is their website, and also their Instagram. And follow The Producer's Edge. As you can see on my top of my screen, I'm like pretending to look at it. So The Producer's Edge on Instagram is actually producers_edge. On Facebook and YouTube, it's The Producer's Edge. Please follow our YouTube, because we have some cool stuff coming up, and we need some more people to like us there, so we can get a custom URL. We need 100 followers. So, but yeah, follow us, like us, and do all that great stuff. We have next week is sampling with Dana J. Right at this time, this place, this same bat channel, is Wednesday workshop. Next week, Dana J. How to make a beat using samples. And that's going to be really fun. This is my first time teaching this recording, how to record vocals, but he's done that a couple times. So I've taken that workshop, and it's pretty awesome just to watch him put together a beat, whether or not you're like even going to do it yourself. It's kind of entertaining regardless. And in a couple weeks, we're going to be sampling the Marvel universe with Gonzalo G Silva. And last but not least, in 3 weeks, Dana J is going to be sampling Nintendo sounds, like video game Nintendo, old school Nintendo remix kind of. So that's going to be really fun too. So yeah, I'm really happy y'all came and checked out my workshop on vocals, and I hope y'all go out there and record the hottest vocals ever. And hope it really helps you, especially in this time of social distancing. Maybe you don't have your engineer around and you need to do this stuff yourself. This is super important skill to have as a vocalist. You don't have to spend as much money having people do it for you. Thank you so much.